Good evening, ghouls and fiends. Welcome once again to another edition of the Ministry of Horror. I'm your host, as per usual, Tezz, and sorry, I'm just doing my usual thing where I start recording. I realise, oh god, I haven't got everything set up that I need to have. It's just typical. It's probably what you come to expect. But if you are new to the Ministry of Horror, this is a weekly, in quotation marks, horror podcast where we look at the latest in horror news. We have reviews, and occasionally there might be a featured presentation if I pull my finger out and and arrange something. But it's been a couple of weeks since the last show. I can't remember what delayed it in the first week. I think just general life busyness. And then in the last week, I typically, as is prone to happen, and I'm sure it has held up the show before, did my back in. I was at the gym. I was getting off the static bike at I did a weight session, lifting weights, and then I did the static bike for 20 minutes, fine. And as I was going to get off the bike, I just felt a sudden tightness in my lower back. And that's just kind of like the warning sign that, okay, things aren't going to be very nice for the next few days. And they're still not fully. I probably am about 75% back to normal. But yeah, I spent basically the whole weekend in bed. And that's the difficulty with that is it's not a good idea when you've got a back injury to spend the entire time lying down. But the unfortunate thing is when you're lying down is when it's comfortable. But it doesn't help with the recovery, really. You kind of have to make sure to move around when you can within your threshold. Anyway, wasn't very nice. Still isn't amazingly nice, but I've managed to do a little bit of walking on the treadmill yesterday, and then today I managed to do some weights very safely. So, the show will continue. Don't panic if you are. Outside of that, TikTok, man, if you're not already following, search for the Ministry of Horror or ministry.of.horror on TikTok, and it's jumped up. It's jumped up quite a bit. We've been around 50 followers for ages because I would just occasionally put the odd video on there. More often than not, it would be a snippet of a podcast show. But I kind of figured I should try and actually do some little newsy bits, whether it's just 1 to 2 minutes talking about a film that I like or talking about some news. And I happened to do a little video just talking about how Channel Zero series 1 to 3, not 4 for some reason, but 1 to 3 have landed on Amazon Prime. And that's done and still continues to do quite good numbers. I mean, I'm under no illusions. Grand scheme of things, it's not hitting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. It's getting close to tens of thousands, but not hundreds of thousands or millions of views. But it has led to me going from 50 followers to over 200 followers, which, again, small in the grand scheme of things, but for me it's a really nice little dopamine hit, especially when I was led up in bed with a bad back. So that's been quite nice. But yeah, if you're not already following TikTok, give it a follow, share it around, like all the videos, just play them in the background. No. Just digest the media that you wish to digest, of course. We've got a little bit of a show today. I've got a couple of recent films that I can review. There's one, well, it's going to be 2 films that I can't talk about until they've premiered at Fright Fest, but I've been very fortunate enough to get screeners for them. One of them I did a little hype package on TikTok for, but the other one I haven't watched yet, but can't talk about them, but exciting, very exciting. But I have managed to watch a couple of films. We're going to be reviewing them a bit later on. Those are Please Don't Feed the Children, which is on Tubi, and it's, I believe, the debut from Destry Allen Spielberg, which is Steven Spielberg's daughter. I think it's their debut feature, potentially. I don't know. Yes, it's their debut feature. I should have checked these things first. We're going to be reviewing that a bit later on. And then also, Shudder have finally put a Shudder original film on this month after very, very, quite frankly, piss poor schedules for June and July, where we were getting just the first 4 or 5 Puppet Master films that have been on the service a few times before, I believe, at least the original has. Hell Motel, which I have started watching. I'll do a full season review once I finish it, and once it's finished, because I don't think it's finished yet. But it's very obviously from the makers of the Slasher series. And yeah, other than that, I've done the first 3 episodes of The Institute, which is on MGM Plus. But again, I'll review that once the season's finished. But I'm up to date on that one. But yeah, we've got 2 film reviews a bit later on, and it's now time for the horror news. This is the news. Wait a minute, I realised that might have been very quiet. This is the news. Oh, 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 oh. Wait a minute. Yeah. You can see I've not recorded a podcast in a while. I've not got all my sound set up properly. We're not going to do it again. Don't panic. First up, we have some incredibly sad news. As per usual, all my horror news comes from blogdisgusting.com. Be sure to check the website out. But this actually popped up on my phone about 20 minutes after I'd done a TikTok using the Hellraiser music that was recorded by Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy from Motorhead. But unfortunately, sad news, the legendary Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76. Write-up is from John Squires. Just weeks after performing his final farewell show live on stage in England, it's been reported this afternoon that the forever legend Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76. Osbourne had been suffering from Parkinson's disease in recent years. A family statement reads, "It's with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time." Variety's obituary labels the legendary Osbourne as a founding father of British heavy metal, a latter-day solo star, and a new millennium reality TV luminary, a testament to his enduring longevity and career evolution throughout the decades. Ozzy Osbourne, of course, got his start as the lead singer of the heavy metal band Black Sabbath, becoming known thanks to his onstage behaviour as the Prince of Darkness. It's a moniker Osbourne wore proudly over the years, and it was only fitting that he soon made his mark on the horror genre by appearing in the '86 classic film Trick or Treat. Osbourne memorably appeared in the heavy metal-themed horror film alongside Gene Simmons, poking fun at himself by playing a televangelist rallying against heavy metal music. The 1980s saw Osbourne transition from Black Sabbath to a solo career, releasing 13 studio albums and becoming even more popular on his own than he was with the band. He reunited with Sabbath on several occasions, most recently just 2 short weeks ago. There's more there, but yeah, man, it's I got a little bit emotional watching the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning show. Because for a long time, I used to be in a heavy metal band many years ago, and I used to listen to metal all the time. I went to music college, but over the years, I sort of slipped into this pattern of just listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, and if I'm listening to music, I'd sort of just end up listening to the same sort of rotation of artists. But for whatever reason, I hadn't listened to any Ozzy or Sabbath for a long time. More so Ozzy. I was always a bit more of a fan of the Ozzy stuff. And when this Back to the Beginning show was being streamed live in the UK, my pal and co-host of Nothing But a Good podcast, Lawrence Case, had mentioned to me, "Oh, it's available to stream." So I gave it a watch, and it just lit me up. It was just like seeing all these awesome bands that I'm a huge fan of: Mastodon, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Metallica, Slayer, tons of others, and then seeing these super groups. It was just such a cool experience. Gojira as well, and when they're then covering Sabbath songs and classic Ozzy songs as well, like The Ultimate Sin, Perry Mason, Children of the Grave by Lamb of God, it just kind of lit a fire in me that I haven't had for a long time. It just kind of woke me up, which is a really weird thing to say. I mean, not that weird if you listen to the podcast or watch my TikToks, because I realise I can be a little bit slow and droning at times. Yeah, and during the Ozzy set, he at one point said, like, I'm so thankful everyone's here, blah blah blah. And he goes, I've been out of action, or I'm paraphrasing here, but I've been out of action for 6 years. You don't know how it feels, man. And it's just like, just heartbreaking. And watching it, you could see he just wanted to get up. He just wanted to stand up and headbang holding the microphone like he does. But, the heart is willing, but the body, just couldn't. And it did sort of feel like, I think I remember saying at the time to my fiance, like, just it feels like we're getting close to the end. And that's sad, but, it's this natural part of life. And yeah, anyway, seeing this news today, literally about half an hour ago at time of recording, which is really sad. So I think I'm going to plan to go to the gym tomorrow morning. I'm going to blast out some Ozzy Osbourne. Whether you've ever really listened to much, I'd highly recommend it. Over the Mountain, Mr. Crowley, Crazy Train, of course, everyone knows. Early Sabbath stuff, Bloody Sabbath. There's tons. Honestly, incredible career, incredible guitarists. Zakk Wylde, Randy Rhoads, Jake E. Lee, Steve Vai, I think at one point. Gus G. He's a legend. So very sad news. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. So a bunch of films released on Friday last week, but obviously I didn't record a show, so we're a little bit late. But this comes from Megan Navarro. 9 new horror films releasing this week. So, Go USA released South Korean exorcism horror movie Dark Nuns on digital and Blu-ray on Tuesday, July 15th. In Dark Nuns, after learning that the priest cannot arrive in time to save a young boy possessed by a powerful evil spirit, 2 nuns take on the dangerous forbidden exorcism ritual themselves in direct violation of the church's sacred order, putting both their lives and their immortal souls in grave danger. Song Hye-kyo, Jeon Leo Bean, Lee Jin-wook, and Moon Hoo-jin star. It's directed by Kwon Hyuk-jae. It's a spin-off of the 2015 horror film The Priests, which also released on digital and physical media, centered around a young girl possessed by one of the 12 manifestations of evil after a hit-and-run accident. Father Kim and a young rebellious... blah, 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 blah. I do keep saying that I need to watch more foreign language horror. I've let that slip in recent years. I've fallen into that trap of putting on a horror film whilst doing something else. And, you can't do that. Well, you shouldn't do that really anyway, but you can't do that with foreign language films. You end up having to listen to it dubbed. Sometimes dubbing isn't available, and more often than not, the dubbing is bad. So, I do want to make more time for foreign language films. Next up, Taller, Stronger and Faster, and now unrated, Megan 2.0 is now available on digital as of July 15th. Written and directed by Megan Helmer, Jared Johnston, the sequel is produced by James Wan's Atomic Monster and Jason Blum's Blumhouse. When an autonomous android engineered by the Ultimate Weapon threatens Megan's beloved Cady, Megan convinces her creator, Gemma, to give her a glow-up that makes the original AI diva even deadlier. Armed with wild new upgrades and her same iconic attitude, Megan claps back against the wannabe techno-terror in a fierce face-off to crown the baddest bot built for maximum mayhem. Yeah, this one's just flown really under my radar. When the trailer dropped a few months ago, I remember just watching it and kind of thinking, okay... They've already tried to make Megan an anti-hero because of how popular Megan was. And I don't know if it was necessarily true popularity or if it was just more the memeability, the time that we live in, where things can just be, their popularity can be based on how memeable they are, or GIFs and all that stuff. Or GIFs. I don't give a fuck how it's pronounced. Anyway, Megan was fine. It was entertaining enough, but it's not a film that I've ever had an interest in going back to rewatch. And yeah, the sequel, I know the sequel's not done very well theatrically. I can't say I'm wildly surprised. It had an initial bit of fanfare before the actual release, and the release happened, and it was like, oh, I didn't realise it was out now, and it's sort of just been sent out there to die. Anyway, moving on. 4 cosplaying best friends accidentally unleash a zombie apocalypse in ZombieCon Volume 1, now available on VOD. In the film, a group of cosplaying best friends must constantly battle closed-minded society just to do what they love. cosplay their favourite heroes. When a fated encounter triggers a zombie apocalypse in which all assholes are turned into zombies, the group must embody the heroes they revere, don their cosplay armour and collectible katanas, and traverse a zombie-infested Los Angeles to save their loved one. The film is directed by Carl Valle, who co-wrote with stars Manny Luke and Erin Ain, Christian Casillas, Carlo Mendez, Punky Johnson, Nicole McCauley, and Melissa Jane Rodriguez. Trailer isn't available here in the UK. Yeah, there you go. You like zombies? You like cosplaying? Jobs are good. Next up, out now in select theatres and VOD is the latest from Observance director, I don't know if I'm familiar with that one, Joseph Sims Dennett, The Banished. In The Banished, after her brother mysteriously goes missing, Grace ventures into the dangerous wilderness to find him. As she uncovers the horrific truth of his disappearance, she is faced with the darkness which threatens to claim her as well. UK expat and Australian transplant Sims Dennett wrote and directed the film, which made its premiere last year at Beyond Fest under the title Baal. Meg Clark, Leighton Cardno, Gortner Pavlovic-Hover, Toby Hughes, and Diane Smith star in The Banished. There is a trailer. I'm going to just make sure it's muted. Have a quick little scan through. It looks particularly atmospheric. Missing people, creepy woods. It's not playing. Creepy woods at night. Oh god, something's going to jump out. Maybe. Anyway, trailer looks suitably creepy. I'm going to have that on my to-watch list, I think. Anyway, after failing to keep his wife's dying wish, a man believes he's being haunted for revenge in Bury Me When I'm Dead. The psychological horror thriller is now available on VOD in the US before releasing in the UK on July 28th. It marks the feature debut of writer-director Sebold Krebs. In the film, Henry as his life spirals out of control. When Catherine is diagnosed with brain cancer, they travel to her childhood home, where he promises to bury her in a remote forest. Meanwhile, Henry's been keeping a secret. Their friend Rebecca is pregnant with his child. After Catherine's sudden death, Henry breaks his promise and returns her body to the city under threat from her powerful father, Gary. The weight of Henry's betrayal to Catherine and fear of her overbearing father pushes him to the edge. As his life quickly begins to unravel, a series of increasingly strange and devastating events lead him to believe that Catherine's ghost is seeking vengeance. With danger lurking around every corner, Henry resorts to desperate measures to protect himself, Rebecca, and their unborn child. Devon Terrell, Charlotte Hope, Mackenzie Lee, Mike Houston, Richard Beckins, and Roxanne Hart star. So there's some names. There's some names in there. Yeah. We'll move on. I don't think that one's relevant. Okay, this next one. This next one has had really mixed reviews. I do want to get to see it, but haven't had a chance to get to the cinema with my dodgy back and expensive month. Anyway, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. reprised their roles as Julie James and Ray Bronson in new legacy sequel I Know What You Did Last Summer, out now in theatres. When five friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret rather than face the consequences. A year later, their past comes back to haunt them and they're forced to confront a horrifying truth. Someone knows what they did last summer and is hell-bent on revenge. As one by one the friends are stalked by a killer, they discover this has happened before, and they turn to two survivors of the legendary Southport Massacre of 1997 for help. Yeah, I mean, I'm down to watch it. I've heard the mixed things. I've so far avoided spoilers, although I think that a post-credit scene has already been spoiled because, I mean, I've talked on here before. I did a TikTok about spoiler etiquette and whatnot, and how people now are so keen to just straight away, as soon as a film's released, put up images and footage of like the ending, basically, which I just think is. I mean, I know some people don't mind spoilers and whatnot, and it's, stay off social media if you don't want spoilers. But I think when a film's just been released, don't put up footage of it straight away on timeline. I don't know, pisses me off. But I do want to watch it. We've got a couple more. Bella Thorne stars as a woman embarking on a violent vigilante quest in St. Clair. The religious mystery thriller is now available in select theatres and VOD. In a small town, a solitary woman is haunted by voices that lead her to assassinate ill-intended people and get away with it, until her last kill sucks her down a rabbit hole riddled with corruption, trafficking, and visions from the beyond. Rebecca De Mornay, Frank Whaley, Ryan Philippe co-star. Bart Johnson, Joy Rivaris, Jan Louise Castellanos, Dylan Flashner, and Eric Desher round out the cast. Yeah. Just, again, decent cast. We've got a few films on here which have decent casts, so, yeah. I mean, quite a few of these sound quite interesting. Maybe they could land on Prime fairly soon because it's been slim pickings for a few weeks. And finally, Irish horror film Woken marks feature debut of director Alan Friel, who did the 2017 short film Cake, and is now available on digital. The film is set against a post-apocalyptic scenario in which the Isle provides a safe haven from a pandemic that has decimated Earth. 28 years later. The pic sees the protagonist, Anna, wake up pregnant and unable to remember who her husband is. Nor does Anna recognise Helen and Peter, who are supposedly helping her get her health back. Disbelief is what she is being told leads to a horrible revelation, and Anna having to contend with existential issues brought on by man's destruction of the planet. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really appeal to me, that one. So I will move on to something that does appeal to me, which hopefully my Chrome will catch up to what I'm doing. Being very slow. There we go. So this is what I was hyped about after work and before hearing the awful news about Ozzy Osbourne. Saber Interactive reveals single-player game Hellraiser Revival. Doug Bradley returns as Pinhead. I wish I had a Hellraiser sound cue ready.
This is God.
I mean, that's Nightmare on Elm Street, but God, death, all that stuff. It works. This is right from Mike Wilson. After the mysterious tease last week, Saber Interactive and Boss Team Games have opened the box with Clive Barker's Hellraiser Revival, a new single-player game coming to PC via Steam, PS5 and the Xbox Series. The new story-driven action survival horror title drags players into a twisted nightmare, where players will come face-to-face with the legendary Pinhead, with actor Doug Bradley returning to the role for the first time in nearly 2 decades. Working on the first true Hellraiser game has been a venture deep into the recesses of my darkest imaginings, said Clive Barker, creator of Hellraiser, who has assisted the developers with crafting the game's unique story. The dedication that Saber and Boss Team Games have shown is nothing short of remarkable. Clive Barker's statement continues. They've immersed themselves in the Hellraiser universe, capturing its essence, the seductive pull of suffering, the beauty within the grotesque, and forged a narrative that invites players to step beyond the threshold. I'm eager for both the curious and the damned to experience this new chapter in the Hellraiser mythos, with every moment balances on the brink of nightmare and revelation. Players take on the role of Aiden, who must unlock the dark powers of mysterious puzzle blocks known as the Genesis configuration in order to help his girlfriend from a hellish abyss. As Aiden, you'll harness the box's infernal abilities to survive your pact with the sinister Pinhead and battle against the twisted cult that worships him and the Cenobites. Fail, and you'll face legendary suffering. In addition to the standard digital edition of Hellraiser Revival, there will be 2 special collector's editions of the game from Boss Team Games, and it will be available for pre-order from Boss Team Games. They include an exclusive version of the Hellraiser puzzle box with a unique illumination effect inspired by the game, plus a special Hellraiser statue to display it on, as well as other officially licensed collectibles that have been created especially for those limited editions. More information can be found on the Boss Team Games website. Okay, so I didn't even know about these physical release special editions. Like, good lord. I don't think we've got a release date yet, but there's a number of images. The trailer is out now. It looks just like... It looks incredible. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because we've been stung before, Aliens, Colonial Marines. But... this is the sort of thing that I've been waiting for. A single-player focused horror franchise IP where it's not just a case of, oh, cool, we're getting an Evil Dead game. It's a multiplayer asymmetric game. Oh, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. They're doing a game of that. Cool, that could be fun. Oh, it's asymmetric multiplayer game. And that's good if you like those sorts of things. Like, more power to you, you know, Dead by Daylight, all that stuff. But it's not something that's ever really interested me. So single player horror for the win. I'm very happy about that. Evil Dead Burn. Filming's underway on the new Evil Dead movie, John Squires writes. We are almost exactly 1 year away from the Evil Dead franchise's return to the big screen with Evil Dead Burn, and we've learned that production has officially kicked off this week. It's been directed by Sebastian Vanecek, who did Infested, and Warner Bros. Will unleash the film in theaters on July 24th, 2026. Sebastian Vanecek co-wrote the screenplay with Florent Bernard. Hunter Dubin, Luciane Buchanan, and Tandy Wright are set to star opposite Swahili Yukob in Evil Dead Burn. I told the studio that I wanted to make a nasty film, a film that hurts, from which you come away tested, Vanecek told Kobini, speaking about his Evil Dead project. I'm going to put all of the horror I have inside it. It will be cathartic, and if I haven't ruined my career and I can continue to make films behind it, I will move on to something other than horror. The new course for the Evil Dead franchise is for Sam Raimi to hand-select hot up-and-coming filmmakers to put their own spin on the Deadites, which has been working exceedingly well for the bloody saga. Fede Alvarez directed his own take on the original classic in 2013, which paved the way for Lee Cronin's Evil Dead Rise in 2023, 10 years after the remake came out. Ghost House Pictures also recently hired Francis Gallupi, who did The Last Stop in Yuma County, to write and direct yet another brand new Evil Dead movie, which doesn't even have a title yet. So, I need to give Evil Dead Rise a rewatch. I thoroughly enjoyed it in the cinema, and I do own it, but I just haven't got around to rewatching it. But it has one of the best modern openings in a horror film. Title card reveals, really, 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 really cool, and it's pretty nasty as well. So yeah, and I enjoyed Infested from this director. Exciting, it's good. We're getting good horror news. We are getting some good horror news, some sad horror news, but some good horror news from other areas. Next up, The Dark Pictures Directive 8020 delayed to first half of 2026 from Mike Wilson. Supermassive Games has taken to social media to announce that the release of The Dark Pictures Directive 8020 is being pushed back. Originally scheduled for October 2nd, the game has now been pushed back to the first half of 2026. In addition, the studio has announced redundancy consultation, resulting in up to 36 layoffs at the studio. Supermassive had taken similar steps regarding restructuring back in February 2024, where 90 staff were let go from the developer. The games industry remains a challenging and ever-evolving environment, says Supermassive. As we adapt our team structure to better align with these changes, we've had to make the very difficult decision to begin a redundancy consultation process where we anticipate losing up to 36 of our colleagues. This decision was not taken lightly, and we know this will be an incredibly difficult time for everyone. Our absolute priority will be to offer full support to those affected. The statement goes on to say that the developer remains focused on upcoming projects, but as a result, they have made the decision to move the launch of Directive 8020 to the first half of 2026. The development of Supermassive's other project in development, Bandai Namco's Little Nightmares 3, will not be affected and will be released on October 10th. Directive 8020 takes place in a timeline where Earth is dying and humankind is seeking a new home in the stars. The Cassiopeias is the initial survey ship sent to scout for a new habitable planet. Fully outfitted as a colony craft but flying with a vastly reduced crew, their mission is to test every procedure on board without ever touching down on the planet they've been sent to orbit. However, the crew awakens from their 4-year hypersleep to a hull breach, a murder, and some extremely suspicious crew activity. It soon becomes apparent that the ship is infected with an alien organism that can transform into any one of them. While you may be human, others in your crew may not be, and killers can hide behind familiar eyes. So, yeah, sad news. I think the video game industry is going through a lot of turmoil, as it does quite regularly. And it's a shame because I do enjoy the Dark Pictures games. They are quite janky in places. They're not always that smooth to actually play. But I like the pick your own adventure sort of style of play, and the quick time events generally work all right. They're fun. They're fun games. And even when they're not that good, they're still fairly fun. Like Little Hope I didn't think was very good, but it was still fairly fun. I do look forward to the game. Hopefully it is still going to come out, but never nice when you hear people losing their jobs. And then finally, Predator Badlands trailer. Ellie Fanning teams up with the Predator on Dangerous Hunt. Megan Navarro writes, 20th Century Studios has debuted an action-packed and creature-heavy new trailer for Predator Badlands this morning, giving a closer look at the unexpected team-up between a young Yachta warrior and a Wayland Yutani synth. Predator Badlands will release in theatres on November 7th, 2025 in IMAX, Dolby Cinema, Real D 3D, Cinemax XD, 4DX, ScreenX and premium screens everywhere. Trailer is online now. Ellie Fanning stars alongside Demetrius Schuster Kolomatangi as Yachta warrior Dek. The newest entry in the franchise is set on a remote planet where a young predator, outcast from his clan, finds an unlikely ally in Thea and embarks on a treacherous journey in search for the ultimate adversary. The new trailer warns that the warrior has chosen the most dangerous game on the most dangerous planet possible. Trachtenberg directs from a script he co-wrote with Patrick Asen. There's a unique hook to her character that is exciting in the pairing of her and Dek. Trachtenberg previously teased her blade disgusting of one of Fanning's characters. The trailer finally brings answers on that front. Thea is a damaged synth who will be strapped to the back of Dek in their bid to hunt big game. The trailer also brings a new poster that supports the trailer's new weaponry and creature action. It welcomes fans to a world of hurt. Okay. I do like Predator. I'm very much more of an alien boy, xenomorphs, but, you know, the original Predator film I thought was great. Predator 2 is decent. Predators, it's fine. The Predator, I mean, it's a dumb action film. It got slated. I haven't rewatched it, but it was inoffensive. But it's just, to me, the Predator series is one really, really, really good film, and the rest okay to not that good. So with this trailer, I mean, visually it looks quite interesting, but it doesn't look like my sort of film, to be honest. It's not really selling it to me. I don't want to follow a predator, and that's one of my things with Alien versus Predator is very quickly in both films the predator is the protagonist because the alien is the de facto antagonist. Now, I'm not saying the alien should be the protagonist, the xenomorph, but I don't necessarily, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, want to follow a predator as the protagonist. I much prefer a predator when it was hunting humans. Just keep it simple. But Prey was excellent, and in that it was a predator hunting a human. I rest my case, but you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. You've got to try and experiment, and sometimes that experiment works, sometimes it doesn't, but you've got to take the risk. So yeah, I mean, I have watched some of Predator Killer of Killers, the sort of animated film. It's just predators hunting people and then getting killed in various settings. I didn't finish it, so I don't know about the overarching story, but yeah. Anyway, Predator news. So that is it for the horror news. That was the news. Right, gang, now it's time for reviews. Right, now, first up in the reviews, I watched on Tubi, of all places, Please Don't Feed the Children. I saw this mentioned on a couple of TikToks. Yeah, I'm a TikToker now. Hate me. I do. No, I saw this on a few horror TikToks and kind of figured, okay, it's a new film, and again, we've been for a period of Prime just having absolutely nothing new or nothing that looks good new on the platform, and Shudder has obviously been an absolute shite for 2 months now. So when I saw this was available, I thought, okay, well, let's give it a go. All right, Tubi does have ads, but they're really actually not that bad. So just for context, the last show we did was a live show, and afterwards we did a horror watch party. We ended up trying to watch Mirrors, which is a Kiefer Sutherland horror film that I've never seen before. We were watching it on a service called Plex. Plex has a really good looking library of horror films, but if all of them are done in that way where your free membership is riddled with so many adverts, like every 5 minutes ads. Like, I think we were about maybe 40 minutes into the film. after having started the watch party like over an hour and 15 or an hour and 10 prior to that. It was just too much. It was just pissing me off by the end. So we didn't finish the film. But anyway, I digress. So watching this on Tubi, it was just refreshing that there was maybe 2, I think at most 3 ad breaks, and they were at most 30 seconds. That's fine. If I'm getting one 30-second ad every 30 minutes, alright, I can deal with that. But Please Don't Feed the Children, 2024 American psychological thriller film, directed by Destry Allen Spielberg and written by Paul Bertino. Stars Michelle Dockery, Zoe Colletti, Andrew Liner, Dean Scott Vasquez, Regan Elia, Emma Massey, Joshua Melnick, Vernon Davis, and Giancarlo Esposito. So as with all of our horror reviews, we'll talk a little bit about the plot, we'll go into the highs, the lows, and I'll give it a score out of 10. So we've only got a brief premise here, because there's not much of a Wikipedia page. A group of orphans head south in search of a new life after the country's adult population is wiped out from a viral outbreak. Soon they discover a dangerous secret from a deranged woman. So this is a world where the adult population's been wiped out by this viral outbreak, and those that still survive essentially are blaming the youth, blaming the kids, saying that, well, if they're all still alive and the adults are dying from this horrible virus, it must be the kids causing it. So kids are sort of being rounded up where they're found and put into like these camps. But we're introduced to Zoe Colletti's character Mary, who is she ends up meeting this group and is trying to get out and get to the border, get away. They end up going to a gas station, and one of them gets injured. It all goes south quite quickly, and they come across this woman's house who takes them in to help them. But she has ulterior motives, and things start getting dark from there. So Michelle Dockery is playing as Clara. She's the aforementioned woman who owns this house in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, she's a bit deranged. She is a bit deranged, and yeah, she basically wants to feed the kids to something which is in the basement, and that's kind of where I'll stop there before I get really into spoiler territory. This is a neat film, actually. It's shot pretty well. There's a few good moments of suspense. There's also moments where they've gone down the shaky cam route. It's not shaky cam throughout, but it is. There's only literally, I think, 2 moments where it does help make you feel unnerved and a bit disorientated. The gore, there is some. It's not overtly vicious and violent. It's more so left to your imagination in terms of hearing the sounds, like this horrible like raw sound, bone crunching and all that stuff. So that is quite effective. You know, it's what you don't see, which is oftentimes more effective than what you do, unless you're going for out and out splatter. Giancarlo Esposito has quite a small role in this, but he's good in everything he does, where he just plays that softly spoken character. Yeah, you know what, this did exceed what I expected from a Tubi film, I have to say. In terms of the root of the story, it didn't really. The big reveal near the end, I didn't really feel was much of a reveal personally. It kind of felt a bit like, oh, right, okay, so actually this is just a bit of a by the numbers, this sort of genre film. Which is maybe a little bit disparaging, but it didn't impede my overall enjoyment of the film. But I'm quite happy to give Please Don't Feed the Children 7 out of 10. The fact it's free on Tubi, and there's a lot of shite on Tubi. Yeah, it's worth a go. I should say it's a Tubi original, and there's a lot of Tubi originals that are terrible. So, this one pretty good actually in that regard. So 7 out of 10 for Please Don't Feed the Children. And then finally in the reviews, I watched the Shudder original, Push. So Push is directed and written by David Charbonnier and Justin Douglas Powell, starring Alicia Sands, Raul Castillo, and David Alexander Finn. The film follows a realtor who must survive a night of terror when a deranged client shows up at her open house. So what I can say about this one is style over substance. I'll say that right now. We do have a little bit of a blurb here. So, haunted by the memory of her late fiancé, Natalie Flores finds herself 8 months pregnant and in desperate need of a new start. Determined to regain her sense of self, she moves to America and uses her real estate license to take on a challenging listing. However, she soon discovers that her new beginning may be a deadly end when she catches the eye of a sadistic killer at her open house. After becoming stranded at the property, Natalie falls into premature labour, starting a physiological ticking clock as she must find a way to escape before she gives birth. Yeah, I mean, in terms of a home invasion stalk and slash, it's quite good, actually. It's quite good at creating those moments of tension. Especially when the police get involved a bit later on in the film. But it is quite by the numbers, really. This definitely felt to me like a bit of a missed opportunity. And the final third of the film sort of tries to reveal something maybe supernatural going on, but it kind of just felt like a bit of too little too late, too vague. Like, we want to say that actually this is what's going on, but we're not going to commit to that. We're going to, just pepper that information in here and there, but we're not actually going to say outright. And the weird thing is, like, I normally don't mind when the answers aren't present. I like a bit of vagueness. I like David Lynch. I can't tell you what's going on in most of his films and Twin Peaks. I can't tell you what they really mean, but it doesn't matter because it's done in such a way that it's just encapsulating for me. So I know my fiance hated Mulholland Drive, but something like this, it just kind of felt like, well, shall we say what was actually going on? Well, we'll sort of give an idea, but we're not actually going to say either way or not. I don't know. It was a bit meh. It was a bit meh. That's all I can say, really. I'm gonna give it 4.5 out of 10. I mean, it's directed well, but I think it's not written that well, considering it's the same people that wrote it that directed it. The acting in it's decent. The killer, yeah, is creepy enough, I would say. Some decent moments in the chases. So it had all the ingredients there to be a pretty decent thriller, but yeah, it's just a little bit boring, I guess. Didn't really do anything new. And in this day and age, what can you do new? Not a lot, but yeah, it was on. It was a film. That's all I can say about Push. Anyway, that is the end of another edition of the Ministry of Horror. Thank you very much for watching or listening, whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, maybe even Audible, I'm not sure. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're one of our Patreons, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Ministry of Horror. Support it. It helps support the wedding fund. Every little bit helps. I'm getting married this year, going to Vegas, going across the country of America and doing Halloween Horror Nights. Yes, which has Art the Clown there this year. Yes, very excited about that. Yeah, also follow us on socials. Search for Ministry of Horror on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course. TikTok. TikTok is where I'm really sort of focusing my efforts, because it seems to do good numbers for the channel, really. So yeah, follow us on all those socials. If you like what we do, give the channel on whatever platform you digest this a like, follow, and subscribe, and share. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Goodbye.